welcome to Music is a Day Job. I'm your host, Sean. Music is a Day Job is brought to you by the Qoncert app. The question of the day is, what's the biggest scam in the music industry right now? Now, for me to call out and say people are a scam is crazy talk, but we're gonna talk about it. Let me see how I can say this because there's tons of different types of scams that I see, and it just matters, kind of like who's doing it. The one that I always say is the biggest idea, which I don't know if it's to say it's a scam, but just the idea that sells people that think they can make it into the music industry comparative to the percentage of artists that actually have a chance versus how many people are actually artists. To me, I always thought that idea is a scam because they build it in a way that's kind of like, if you do this, this, and this, you can make it. However, that isn't the truth. It has a lot to do with how much money you have. It has a lot to do with who you know. It has a lot to do with those things. And not to say that they don't say those things. However, it's not like if I say I go to school and then I go to college and then I'm going to be a doctor and I do this many years and then the chance of me becoming a doctor after I got my doctor's degree or whatever like that or whatever, the chances are higher of me landing the job and it's just step by step versus the idea like this kind of like gist of words like virality could come into this. um and you can't control virality. You can pay people money and they can get you the look, but then that doesn't mean that they can make you pop. You can you can be the most talented in the world and just not know the right people. It's kind of like a blur. So to me, that's the biggest like scam is that it's played as if the dopest in the world are the best artists in the world. And that's far from the truth because there's tons more people that are way more dope and more talented than the people you see at the top. Once you put all the money into some people, you would then see what the truth of this is. Like it's not the same as what it used to be like in the 60s and stuff like that. Like you can even take like in those times when you can say did a lot of the artists like when Michael Jackson couldn't get on MTV, to say that MTV at those times had the best artists on there and you didn't play Michael Jackson, you didn't play James Brown, you didn't play Luther Vandross, you didn't play Marvin Gaye, and you didn't have any of those, but yet you're selling the idea that you have the best artists in the world, and yet Michael Jackson can't get on your channel. Do you see how that looks like? It's like, well, now it becomes questionable of the validity of who's in the industry and who gets pumped. And when you start making this idea, now this looks like, as you see what's going on with like, as they say, UMG and Drake and all these things and all these companies. This is Music is a Day Job brought to you by the Qoncert app. Artists looking for shows? Qoncert app. Fans looking for independent artists? Qoncert app. The Qoncert app is an artist accelerator app that takes artists from opener to headliner to on tour and gives the fan the best experience in independent live music. If you're an artist, get onto the app. You can see the shows all around the United States. All you got to do is select a slot and then agree to the details, and you're on a show right away. Now you have to question, like, if people, because people can buy spots on Spotify and people can pay for this and do this, then it becomes if you have the money, not if you have the talent. So the idea is the scam of the idea of being like it's based on the talent when it's really not based on the talent. And so that to me is the biggest scam of the music industry is like it's not based on the talent. You're just saying the person that may have, it could come down to looks. It could come down to, as I said, connections, what money you have, or whatever like that. So then that's one of them. Now, if I was to go on a lower level like scams, like I'm not a big fan of shows that are like you have to understand what shows can get you, because I see a lot of people do the, if you do this then you get on a show with a national artist, or you do this and this label is watching you. I'm not a big fan of those. So then those you'd have to do your separate due diligence on, do your research on the company that's doing that or the person, the promoter that's doing that. Because when you see those ideas, like like I'll say, like even with like my business concert, if I offer that you can get on a bigger show, I clearly have that because I already put on tons of shows. This is all I do. I watch like no name promoters come out of nowhere. They just bought they're paying for a national, and then they'll come over and tell someone like, yo, so they can cover the cost of the national. They'll do a concert with tons of independent artists, and the winner gets on that so they can pay for that. So then in between that idea, what happens is if they don't get the money quick enough, then this national might dip. They may have even never had the national. So then I've seen things where people have been like, we're bringing, and they'll say like a crazy artist, like they'll be like the one like a top dog, like they'll be like, we're bringing Meg the Stallion or someone big, you know what I'm saying? And then you'll be like, well, that person's gonna come to here, and then it's like, and then you just see the scam in it, and you're just kind of like, I've seen dudes, they'll be giving up the money like yo, and then like the pay to play slots, like if you can't sell tickets, like for instance, if they don't give you the option to sell tickets, and like because tickets takes away the idea of you paying directly out of your pocket, so then it goes like, hey, your fans are going to pay, and that's what's supposed to happen because they're paying to see you. Then inside of that, after that, you make money, whatever. But then if you pay for a pay to play slot, like for instance, I'm paying like $3,000 for me to open up for this person, unless you have like a direct situation to this, like this artist, everything about this situation, you're in contact with this label, and they say, hey, this is the amount for you to be the opener for the tour or some shit, then it's one of those things that a lot of times I see people like put like $3,000-$4,000 to open up for this person, the show don't come, and then the promoter disappear. I've seen that happen hundreds of times, hundreds of times. All the time I see that happen. And the crazy thing is, it happens till this day, which is so crazy to me because when I started like 15, 16, 17 years ago, it was happening. And then it still happens. Or like someone's coming out here to sign somebody to a label, and they'll bring all these dudes that knew all the artists back in the day and stuff like that. And they'll be like, yo, if he sees somebody dope, then he's gonna sign them. And then now all these kids done paid $300-$400, and then they're gonna perform in front of this person, and then they give you a little critique, and then next thing you know, he don't sign nobody. Those are the ones that bothers me, and that's why it's crazy to me when kids say they don't sell tickets for themselves and for their like homies that are in there that can be headliners, and you can become a headliner when I put that through the concert app, because then I'm like, but you'll pay to try to be on a show that you think this dude is going to sign somebody, but he doesn't sign you, he just tells you something, and then you don't get any momentum, like you don't get anything from it. And then like I even watch people pay, even the idea of when they get to do it. So when they pay and they get to be on that show, what did you get from that? I just see the show, and then next thing I know, I don't see you perform for like another 8 months. Like, but then the idea in this artist's mind is they're like, man, I got in front of these 1,000 people, these 4 or 5 thousand people, and I was with so and so, and then da 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 da. But it didn't do anything to help your career. So now, if you would have actually sold tickets and got to the point that you had 50 fans to 100 fans, now let's say you got to 150 fans, as I always say, you got to 150 fans, and you really had 150 fans. Now you're worth $1,000 a night, which is now your future. You know what I'm saying? So then, I just want people to look at it in that aspect. So then, the scams to me are very like they're sold to all the artists, and then the artists start following these ideas all the time, and they just keep going and keep going. And I would just hope that people would look at it from the bigger lens of saying, hey, like you're like, yo, it's not that easy. It's not going to be, hey, I can just do this and then I get here. Because the entire idea of it not being based off talent tells you that it can't be that. Because otherwise, the most talented kid in the world would always be the number one artist or close to it. You know what I'm saying? Like, but then we know what the truth is. We've seen even crews where, like, which I'm not gonna name nobody, but we've seen crews of people where the top artist in the crew is number one, but that isn't the same thing. So that's what I believe is the number one scam in the music industry right now. This is Music is a Day Job, brought to you by the Con.